to the first ever Hornet Hour Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Berry. I have the privilege to interview today our superintendent and our teacher of the year. But first up today, I have Dr. Karen Walters. Dr. Walters has been our superintendent for 6 years. How many years? 6 years. And she was at the State Department as assistant commissioner before that. Dr. Walters, thank you for being a part of our very first podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So our first topic of the month is school safety. And as you know, in the state, school safety has been a hot topic for a lot of us. What are some of the security measures that Bryant has implemented over the last several years?
Well, as you said, Alex, this is my 6th year as superintendent. I was deputy superintendent for 3 years before that, so I know that this is something that Dr. Kimbrell started when he was here. But, one of the things that we're looking at is staffing. And we at Bryant, actually, I think we were a little ahead of everyone. This is our 4th year that we have had an armed presence on every one of our campuses. We have SROs who are actually Bryant police officers at all of our secondary campuses except for Bethel. We have school security officers. They're all former law enforcement officers at either the county or city or somewhere that are at our 8 elementary schools and at Bethel Middle School. I know that there are a lot of districts that are doing that now. This is our 4th year to do that. We feel like that having that armed presence hopefully will be a deterrent. A lot of the research shows that where there have been active shooters in school districts across the nation, those individuals weren't there. And there's also some research that shows if there is any obstacle for that individual, it does deter them. So we feel like that's one of the most important things that we can do. Some of the other things that we're doing is we're looking at physical measures of our buildings, access controls, being able to get into the building. We are actually looking at doing the 3M film in our office areas this school year. We are getting pricing on that. Our state legislature passed a law in the special session back in August. That gave a $50 million grant. We're anxiously awaiting for those rules and regs to come out and see how that's going to be distributed. Our understanding is that it will be a grant that you must apply for. Mm-hmm. And so, again, we're anxiously awaiting that so we can see, what our funding will be. But we also have a district security officer that we've had for 5 years now. And he is kind of the liaison between the SROs, the Bryant PD, and with our own security officers as well. And I want to say how thankful I am to the city of Bryant. We have 9 SROs on our campuses. That is a partnership with the city. They pay for half of that. Wow. We know that's not something that they have to do, and we're so thankful for that.
That is awesome. That is really awesome. You talked about having armed presence on each of our school campuses. How are those security officers trained, and what are their roles inside the schools, and how do they promote school safety when they are on site?
That's a great question, and I think our why behind using our security officers and not SROs at elementaries versus the secondary campuses was looking at just the needs of those ages of children, I will say. So at the elementary level and maybe even middle school level, what they're doing is they are helping look at the physical, security of the buildings. They do walk-arounds all the time. They are out there at playground time to make sure that, we have measures in place keeping kids safe. I think we get in our minds when we talk about safety that it's always about an active shooter, mm-hmm. and there are many other components when we're talking about safety on our campuses. All of our security officers that are our employees and not Bryant police officers, there is a training the state has for a commissioned school security officer, I believe is the official term. They have a training for that. Mr. Van Veelen, who is our district security coordinator, oversees them, and he ensures that they have the training that they need. There's a basic training to have that designation, but then we also send them to other trainings that come up throughout the state. But they work with staff on their campuses about, giving them scenarios of, what do you do in this case, and just trying to make everyone prepared. They'll saying, prevention's worth the, well, I've just lost the saying, but what is it? An ounce of prevention. Anyway, I've lost it. But we we feel like that's important, that we work through those scenarios. That you can what if things to death.
Correct.
And it's very hard to come up with every scenario. But those individuals doing that, and even talking to kids, we had a situation that happened this school year where someone came up on the campus, and it was a very good learning experience for the security officer to talk to the kids about, what do you do in this situation? What do you do if a stranger comes to the fence? So having those people there that can help lead that, our principals, our teachers are very busy. We want to make sure our kids are learning. And so having this individual that they can help the principals focus on what is important on their campuses as far as safety, I think is valuable to our principals. And I think they would probably fist fight me if I told them we were not going to have them anymore. So.
Yes. And I also hear that they also do mentorship on top of all that. Not only just school safety, but they also mentor those kids. And those kids love seeing them in their buildings.
You're exactly right, Alex. We have a very, I think, robust social emotional learning program where, we teach our kids about, relationships with peers and others, and also the adults on our campuses about relationships with students. And I think that our school commission security officers do a great job of, reaching out to those students maybe that need that, as you said, mentorship, another adult to check on them, in a positive way, and just to help guide them. And they do a great job with that as well.
Yes, they do. We talked a lot about our CSSOs. What about our school resource officers and the partnership with the city of Bryant? How do those SROs serve the schools they're assigned to?
So the SROs that we have serve Bryant Middle School, Bryant Junior High, Bryant High School, and Place, which is our ALE for high school students. So they serve much in the same way as our commission security officers. They're helping to identify a situation, whether it's physical safety of a building or supervision, things that we need to, improve on to make sure that our buildings and our students are safe. But at that level, it's also, unfortunately, we get into things that involve police, such as, if it were drugs or something like that. We have Maya, the drug dog.
Yes,
that's
we love
on
Maya.
our high school campus. We love Maya. She's in our yearbook every year, as you know. But, again, like I said, when we talk about safety, I think all of our minds go to an active shooter. But, trying to keep drugs off of our campuses is also an important safety feature.
Yes.
I believe, no parent wants to send their kids to school to be, to worry that they're, someone's going to talk to them about selling drugs to them. So, those things are equally as important. So, I think that they help with that. They, sometimes we have fights. Doesn't happen very often, but, sometimes the police have to step in with that when we have something like that happen. It's not something that happens often, and I know that that's not what our SROs want to be seen as their role, but unfortunately sometimes, that has to happen. But the SROs, even though they're not our employees, they work for the city of Bryant, I think that they do just as good of a job as our security officers, as also trying to mentor students and reach out to them and checking on those students. So I have to give them kudos for that, because they excel at that as well.
Yes, they do. As you know, schools across the nation are putting additional focus on just physical security, but not just physical security, they're also looking at emotional safety. How is Bryant, and what are some things that Bryant is doing to provide support for mental health and emotional health? And
you are exactly right. And so the The Governor's Safety Commission, just finished meeting, and their final recommendations are coming out now. And that was one of the big recommendations from that group is mental health supports, and it goes back to that prevention. So at Bryant, we have what I think is a multi-tiered system of supports. Of course, we have our school counselors in all the building that are that first level, and they help identify students that maybe need more supports. We have relationships with outside contractors that come in and provide mental health services to our students. And this school year at Bryant, we actually hired 2 of our own mental health therapists to provide therapy to our students that need, those additional supports. This is the first year that we've had that, so we're anxious to see how that goes. We'll see at the end of the year. We feel like that it may be something that we need to add more therapists after this year. Our counselors do a great job. Our counselors have a lot on their plates. We want them meeting with students about college and career choices, and our elementary counselors do whole group. They go into all the elementary classrooms and talk to them about different topics. So it's a lot to put on our school counselors to expect them to provide, therapy to all of the students that need it. And so I think at schools we've got to bring in that next layer so that it's all not put on the shoulders of our counselors. And I think that we've recognized that at Bryant, and I think that we're doing a good job of moving that way. We also have behavioral specialists. We have Susan Jones, who kind of runs our mental health services for our public schools here in Bryant, and she does a great job at getting all the people to the table to make sure that we are identifying those students that need more than just go to see the school counselor maybe once a month.
Right. Well, Dr. Larson, we've covered a lot today. We've covered our CSSOs, our SROs, a little bit of mental health. Is there anything else you want to add to school safety or anything in general?
I hope that our legislature in the coming session, I hope that they will maybe recognize that school safety is not a one-time $50 million grant for the state, but
Yes.
rather this is something that needs to be funded in our matrix that we have. Currently, there is no funding for safety and security in schools through the matrix. At Bryant, between the agreement we have with the city, with the SROs and our own employees that we have, we're spending about $1 million in salaries and benefits.
Wow.
And that does not include the physical measures we do to the building, the access points, putting up 3M film. We also have something else we're looking at doing this year where I can't remember the exact term for it. I call it like the Ring doorbell system, kind of.
Kind of like a kiosk.
Yes, it's so I will come to the outside of the school and I'll ring the bell, and the secretary inside will say, "Hi, I'm Karen. How can I help you?" And you'll say, "Hi, I'm Alex. I'm here to pick up Giselle." And they'll say, "Okay, Alex, can you please show me your driver's license?" And you'll put your driver's license up to the camera, and they'll look you up and say, "Yep, Alex is on Giselle's card. He can check her out." So then they'll hit the button and they'll say, "Thank you, Alex. You can come on in and sign Giselle out." But if you say, "I'm Alex and I'm here to pick up Giselle," and you show that driver's license and they look on Giselle's card and you're not on there, or even worse, your name is on there that you cannot pick up Giselle, then they're not going to buzz you in.
Right.
So I think it's just adding that, another layer of security. We want our buildings to feel welcome. We don't want our parents to feel like they're at a prison when they come to pick up their kids. But hopefully parents see that as we are trying to add that extra layer of support. If you're supposed to be there, we're going to welcome you in, buzz you in. We want you to come in. But for people that don't have a good reason to be there, there's no reason for that person to be inside of our schools. So, that's some other things that we're looking at, and I just hope that our legislature, again, recognizes that, safety and security is an ongoing expenditure.
Yes,
and, we are taking something away from another area of teaching and learning when we're having to spend this money on safety and security. So
Yes. Well, Thank you again, Dr. Walters, for doing this.
Thank you for having me, Alex.
Yes. Next up, we actually have Dr. Walters again talking about our new series called Did You Know? She'll be talking about free and reduced lunch. And then after that, we'll have Amber Leaton, our Bryant Teacher of the Year. And she's in the top 4 for her state. So we're excited to hear from her.
Hello, Bryant Nation. My name is Karen Walters, and I have the privilege of being the superintendent for Bryant Public Schools. Welcome to the first edition of Did You Know? Did You Know is a series we have started to provide information that we believe is important on various educational topics. Our first topic is going to be free and reduced lunch applications, what they mean to the district and what they mean for our families. Our district receives a state categorical fund called Enhanced Student Achievement Funds, or also known as ESA funds. Those funds are based on the students that we have in the district that are free or reduced. Bryant Schools receives an amount per child, and those funds help us do things like hire interventionists to help with struggling learners. We pay for some of our security officers out of those funds, our district social worker, many things that would be very difficult for us to do if we didn't have those funds. The district also receives federal dollars that are based on our students who are free and reduced. The dollars that we receive for our Title I schools help provide additional staff members, such as interventionists who help our struggling learners. They also provide additional materials and supplies that are needed for those schools. Making sure all families submit applications are very important to the district, not only for the 2 pots of money that I've already discussed, but also in other areas. For example, the pandemic brought many dollars from the federal government to school districts. Those dollars were dispersed to schools based on the free and reduced lunch counts. Bryant did not receive the funds per student that many districts in the state did because our free and reduced percentage was not as high. Completing a free and reduced lunch application is also very important for our Bryant families. The cost for an elementary student to eat breakfast and lunch every day if they are on paid lunches is $25 a week. We know that that is a huge impact to some of our families, and we want to make sure everyone who qualifies for free and reduced can see that savings. Our families also can see many other benefits to qualifying for free or reduced lunches, such as free concurrent credit classes, that's college classes for our high school students. They also get a free ACT exam, and they also can receive either free or discounted broadband access. Another factor that I would like to bring up that I hear from families a lot is that they're concerned with what we do with that information. I want to be very clear and want to lay everyone's fears to rest that that information is kept very confidential. No one knows who is on free and reduced lunches. All students go through the line without any indicator what their lunch status is. We do not share that information with anyone. We want our families to feel very comfortable with giving those applications and knowing that their information is safe. So now you've heard information about how the free and reduced lunch applications benefit not only our families, but our school district as well. I look forward to sharing more information with you on other education-related topics in the future. Until then, have a great one, Bryant Nation.
And we're back with Amber Leaton. She has made it to the top 4 of Teacher of the Year for Arkansas. Amber, thank you so much for coming to our first podcast for the Bryant School District.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. So let's talk about it. You're in the top 4. How does it feel?
It's surreal, honestly. No one goes into teaching or education expecting recognition or awards. So, but it's nice when you get that. So I was really surprised and excited. I don't know. I work with some really great teachers who are more than deserving of something like this. So I'm just really honored to be selected, and I'm excited.
So when they were reading out your bio, did you know it was you?
Well, so I had a former student who wrote one of my recommendation letters. And when they started, and I was the fourth of the four that they announced. So I had already just in my head accepted that I didn't get it, and I was fine with that. But then they started reading, and it was a quote from her letter, which meant a lot to me. So I don't know. The tears started coming, and all my family was there. And so it was really neat. It was a cool moment. So,
Well, leading into that, I actually had Mrs. Westbrook whenever I was in high
really?
school.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course I knew Coach Westbrook, and then Lisa Stein also worked here, your
Yes.
sister. So how long have you been in the profession?
So this is my 11th year. It's gone by super fast. When I say that, I'm like, I don't feel like I could have been a teacher for 11 years already, but I feel like it's kind of like parenting. You know, people say like the days are long, but the years are short. Like, I think that's true for teaching too. Like, I'll see former students at the restaurant or the store, and in my mind, they just graduated like a year or two ago, but no, they're 28 and married with 2 kids and a job. And I'm like, wow, well, that makes me feel old, but yeah, it goes by fast.
That's how I feel some days because
Yeah.
I've been here for 10 years as well.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I started working here as an intern and the time just flies here.
It does.
But it's fun. We love it.
It is. Good.
So you've been here 11 years. When you were, did you know when you were in high school that you wanted to become a teacher, or did it just kind of fall in your lap? How did you get to this point of wanting to be a teacher and help out these kids and
So
students?
with my parents both being teachers when I was young, people would ask, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, oh, a teacher. Of course, you know, that's what everybody does. So that's what I thought. So when I got to high school, I really fell in love with history. I remember Rick Leach, who taught here for a long time,
Yes.
was my favorite. He made me love history. So I knew I wanted to do something with history. So when I got to college, there's not a whole lot that you can do with a history major other than, you know, getting a PhD and being a professor or work in a museum. So I wanted to come back and teach. And high school U.S. history was like my dream spot. Like, I like all history, but U.S. is where it's really at. So I got really lucky when that's what I ended up being able to do with my first job. So I think that's kind of rare to get like the exact subject and grade level you want right off the bat. So I was
Yes, it's
excited.
very hard. I mean, teachers, like, especially like music and art and history, I feel like those are some of the toughest jobs to get.
Yes. So
And
I
that's
was
awesome that
very
you
fortunate.
Got that.
Yes. And the year I needed a job, there were 4 history openings at Bryant. So I went to college at UCA. I did not plan on moving back here, but it was just meant to be.
It all worked out.
It did.
That's awesome.
It did. It was awesome.
So, yeah, you've been in the profession for 11 years. You're teaching U.S. history. You've got to have some funny stories. Do you what is one of the funniest ones that you have? Because I know just me being in high school, I have a couple of funny ones.
Yeah. Gosh, that's hard. There's so many. I feel like every time I give my students opportunity to like be creative or come up with something, they come up with something hilarious. So just this week, really, we did thesis statements. We were working on those. And the question that they all had to come up with their argument was, is a hot dog a sandwich? And this turned into...
I bet you that was good.
It was great. So we called it the hot dog battle. And it turned into basically a rap battle over thesis statement arguments about hot dogs. And the rest of the day, you could hear them in the hall. No, it's not a sandwich because 2 pieces of bread. It's hilarious.
Did anyone waver more toward one side?
Oh, yeah.
Other?
It was pretty evenly split most
Wow.
class periods. I know. People get really fired up about that question. So
We're going to have to start asking people that.
I know. It's a good one.
So you obviously encourage your students a lot. How do you continually do that day in and day out? Because you're teaching these students for, 100 and almost 80 days a year. How do you keep that motivation going? How do you keep them focused in class and keep them engaged?
It's tough. I think the most important thing is just to build relationships with students. Like, if that relationship's not there, they're not going to learn from you or not going to want to. And it's tough too, because I have 150 students. So especially this time of year, it's a lot of work, like intentional work, to really build those relationships and get to know students. But I think once those relationships are there, I can encourage them. And I teach AP, so it's a college level class that can be really tough. So it takes some encouragement and some motivation to push through sometimes. So I think once that relationship is there, I can help them build that motivation, that, I don't know, grit to push through even when it's hard, and try to build confidence and skills that go along with it.
Nice. Very nice. So what advice do you have to students in high school or even other people if they want to get into this profession or start down this pathway to becoming a teacher?
I would say to do it. It's not butterflies and rainbows. I don't think anybody thinks that coming in. It's kind of funny you say that and I don't think she would mind me saying this. I had a former student reach out to me yesterday. Who's in college and thinking of changing her major to become a teacher. And so she wanted to talk. So it's been an awesome job for me. It's a great job if you want to have a family. I think it's a fulfilling job. There are challenges that come along with it, but I don't know, I can't imagine doing anything else. And I feel like it's different every day. That's one thing that's really appealing to me, that I come to work and it's never going to be the same as it was the day before. It's always exciting and something new and different. So I would encourage anyone who's ever thought about it to check it out. It's a great, great career.
Yes. You also teach leadership, right?
I do.
And you're the sponsor of Student Senate, correct? What other, what community projects and things do you guys have coming up this year that you guys focus on and you want people to know about?
Okay, so in leadership, we have 4 monthly committees that are student-led.
Wow.
And so, yes, they do faculty appreciation projects, community service projects, and the students are coming up with those, implementing those on their own. So we have those going on all the time. We do a lot at Christmas. We head up the Adopt a Child through Salvation Army. We buy gifts for children at a preschool. Just last year, we started up a tutoring program at Alexander Outreach Center, which has been really good. So we're hoping to build on that this year. And one thing that is new each summer, so last summer, the student council sponsor from Benton had the idea for a Saline County leadership conference where we all come together, the different student councils. So we've done that 2 years in a row now. And this summer, we decided we wanted to do a joint service project. So, yes, we picked a local nonprofit. We're going to do the Call, which helps foster families and foster kids in Saline County. And we're going to do a school competition, so Benton versus Bryant versus Harmony Grove, of a diaper drive.
Wow.
To donate all of those to the Call. And then we're also planning to do like a parents' night out where foster parents can drop off their kids, either foster kids or biological. Our students will plan a night of activities while the parents get to go have a dinner or a date night out alone. So we're really excited. It's going to be good. And we get to partner with, kids from other local high schools to do that. So I think it's going to be neat.
That's so awesome.
It's cool.
That's just so cool.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of actually going to the leadership conference that y'all
you
hosted
did?
for a few minutes.
Yes.
And just the amount of fun they looked like they were having.
Oh, it's great.
Do you guys, are those like current students that are enrolled in your class for the following semester, or is that?
Yes. So it's
how do you get people there?
Yeah,
your
so
students
it's
there?
our applications for students in it come out in the spring, and then we select those, and then in the summer it's like kind of a planning, like get excited session for the upcoming year. So it kind of serves a dual purpose. So we get to meet with students from other schools, but also our kids get to know each other, get to plan things for the upcoming year even before the school year starts. So it's really good.
Well, that's awesome. So when will you find out if you've made it to Arkansas Teacher of the Year?
So the next step in the process is an observation. So there'll be a team coming in a couple of weeks to observe a lesson, and I do an interview. They interview administration. So after that, I'm not really sure. I think later in the fall, they'll announce who the winner is. And even if I don't get it, I'm honored to be in this position, and I'm just excited.
Yes.
So.
Bryant has never had a Teacher of the Year for Arkansas.
Oh, no pressure, right?
We've made it to the top 4.
Yes.
You're our second person to do that, and we're so excited for you.
Well, thank you. I'm excited.
Well, Amber, thank you so much for coming to do this, and thank you for being a part of our very first podcast. We're excited to be doing this. We love having you here at the school district.
Thank
and
you. I've enjoyed it.
Good luck
Thank
with
you.
the Arkansas Teacher of the Year.
Thank you.